It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going. It's going down. It's going. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow.
The time is now. It's going down on the Tow Wow with your girl, Bernica Joan, and right here with Quisha Denise.
What's up, Barnica Joan?
What's going on, Miss Quisha?
I can't call it.
Just here, doing what we do.
It's what we do.
Yeah. Talking about some things that need to be talked about.
That's
Continuing
right.
our conversation from last week.
Yes. So the aftermath part 2. So we just want to talk about more about co-parenting in a situation after the breakup, and want to talk about some other factors or variables that come into play, like other partners.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Yeah. So, but from last week, we talked about how a woman needs to begin, or not just a woman, but people who break up need to begin to heal themselves in certain ways so that they can be effective co-parents, so they can get their emotions out of the way of doing what's best for their children.
Yes. And I think she talked about that in the book about how there's a difference between emotions and feelings. And emotions are usually like derived from the situation that you're in. And feelings are just how you feel about that situation. So emotions, I guess, can be how you react because of someone else's actions. That's
Right.
what emotions,
Mhm.
are, how she described it. And then the feelings are just how you feel about a certain situation. So that kind of was a light bulb moment because I had never thought about the two being different.
Yeah.
But I guess because you can have emotions or you can act in an emotional way to a situation, but then you can have your feelings could be totally different, could reflect something totally different.
Right. Which we call that probably inappropriate affect when people's emotions don't match their feelings. That's facial emotions anyway. But yeah, people do. I mean, and that's just like the person who could be hurting because of the breakup's over, but they trying to act hard and be a certain way and cause certain problems, but really they just want to be like, take me back. You know what I mean? So, um, but it's a lot of emotions and feelings that come with breaking up. And so, and then sometimes it takes years for those things to heal. I know, even in the book that we're referring to is Blend, by Mashonda T Fear. I always say it wrong, I think, but it's called Blend. And that's Swiss Beats ex-wife. And so she wrote a book about how things went after they broke up and he married Alicia Keys. So um, when we're saying the book, that's what we're referring to from episode 3.
Yeah. So, yeah, she talks about a lot about healing yourself, which is probably the most fundamental part after breaking up because that's going to determine the relationship moving forward that you have with your ex, as well as that the child has with their parent,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever future relationships come into play, once one of the two people involved remarry or start a new relationship with someone else. But I guess to recap some of what we were saying last week in reference to the aftermath part one, healing yourself, kind of getting back into who you are, because I know she said in her book, and it's funny because a lot of her similarities of things she went through in her book experiences were very similar to how I had to heal myself after my last relationship. And she said it took her like a year to get back
Yeah.
to where she started to feel like who she was,
Mm-hmm.
before
Well,
they
it's a
were
loss.
together.
So there's grief. There's grief when you lost somebody that you cared about, whether it was over something they did or over something you did or whatever. But I mean that's still a loss, and you got to deal with that.
Well, especially when your whole heart is involved.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely a loss because it's like grieving a relationship or grieving someone that was in your life on a constant, consistent basis. So,
Mm-hmm.
just learning how to have life again after, the
Yeah.
the separation
Yeah,
is
and managing that disappointment.
exactly.
And so, one of the things that when she was talking about Swiss Beats moving on to Alicia Keys and how she came to develop a relationship with her, um, one, what drew my attention was I was wondering how long do people think that people should be single before or be with somebody before they introduce their child to someone new? Because a lot of times people in their mind have rules like they'd be like, oh, you ain't even known her long enough, or you haven't known him long enough to bring him around my child. Like, how do you determine the rules about that? Or are there rules?
There are really no rules to it. I think just you as two mature adults, you would hope that your other co-parent would be mature enough and would think rationally enough, especially with the child's best interest at heart, to make a very sound decision and a appropriate decision as to whether the person in their life. And I think, each person, if they have the heart in it the right way and they're moving forward in a positive manner and not in a let me get back at you type manner, or,
Mm-hmm.
jealous or just to be spiteful, then I feel like each person knows when they've met that person that they feel like, okay, this person's going to be around a long time, or this person is who I plan on spending the rest of my life with. So it's time to incorporate this person into the picture, or incorporate, have my child meet them.
Yeah.
So I guess that's really, that's something that the one co-parent can't really dictate for the other person.
So that's where it becomes a control issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where you're telling somebody like, well, you can't bring that person around, and a lot of times that's really just from hurt and pain, or a person not really being over somebody.
Well,
And I
too,
guess
I think this the sad thing is because when the other person is healing or trying to go get through those emotions to be able to have a healthy co-parenting situation, unfortunately, like in this situation with Mashonda and Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys, it's similar to so many other people's story too, where he had already developed a relationship with Alicia Keys behind Mashonda's back. So
yeah,
he already had formed that bond with her. He knew that she was somebody he was planning on, being with for a while, because that's why he was divorcing her, like breaking his whole family up to start a new relationship with her. So in his mind, he probably felt like he had known her enough, or had enough time to realize this is the person that he wanted to be with. And I think it still took them, maybe they divorced in 2001, and then I think she said they met in, or was it 2006, and then they had the party in 2008. So maybe like 2 or 3 years later was when she came to the LeBoy's party, because the LeBoy was 4 when they broke up,
okay,
and she had the party for him at 6, and that's when Alicia Keys came to the birthday party, I guess the first introduction. So I mean, 2 years had passed, within that time. So I guess, that was a very respectful, I guess, way for him to go about it, bringing her in a little bit later on down the road, even though he ended the relationship in a hurtful way.
well, I think that he should have brought her the way he, if he ended it in a hurtful way, he should be considerate of her feelings in the aftermath. Like, you can't just pull up on somebody with somebody new soon job done broke up. You know what I mean? That's hurtful and it's disrespectful to somebody's feelings.
I
Um,
agree.
so if they get in their emotions and act out, like, it might not be right, but it's understandable.
Definitely understandable. So I think that's what it is. And that's why I say, and I said that last week, two mature adults, because a lot of the times when emotions are involved, people act really immaturely, um,
Mm-hmm.
about handling certain situations when it comes to that. And when your heart's broken, sometimes act out or do things. I guess that's those, like we said, the emotions versus the feelings. Like
Girl.
you can act like, you're mad, or act out and lash out and do something, but really be hurt on the inside. And so that's just a part of, being a human.
Yeah. I know my emotions done almost took me some places that I would need bail money for.
Girl,
So
hey. We got lawyers on deck over
hey,
here.
you gotta have one on deck. Because you just never know. But I mean trying to be mature, it's still a two-way street as far as respect and boundaries and um being able to see that other person just might need more time to adjust to what's going on.
But if you really have love for your child and want what's best for the child, then you would definitely want to make sure that you're handling the situation as amicably and as best as you can, as positive as you can for the child moving forward, even if the situation isn't necessarily what you want it to be, or you have to compromise and do some things that you don't want to do. That's just, a part of being. And it's, you have ups and downs in that. But I
hmm
guess when you really want what's best for your child, you
Yeah, you will set your emotions to the side
exactly.
because you have to.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say bail money, you need bail money and stuff like that, but that was, my old self. Like as I come into this new person or just maturing as a woman, like it's facts over feelings.
Yeah.
Like how I feel in a situation is not going to outweigh what needs to happen. And but even myself, it took me a while to get to that point. So I understand people acting out because I have acted out.
Yeah. But it's just a part of evolution. When you look back, you realize that a lot of the stuff that you got upset about or made a big deal about wasn't really that big of a deal. Or, in
Maybe it
six
was a big of a deal, but you just handled it in the wrong way.
exactly.
You
And
know.
moving forward, it's just don't sweat the small stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when it comes to having your child meet that other person, I mean, at the end of the
Mm-hmm.
day, you pick that person. So you have to kind of let the control go. And that's the biggest issue
Mm-hmm.
in all of that. Like the
Yeah.
ego, letting the control go to where you have to just believe that everything's going to be okay
Mm-hmm.
moving forward, and that you can't control everything, because when you have a child with someone, you know, that child is half theirs. So they also have
Right.
dictation on who's around that
Mm-hmm.
child, and you can't control every aspect.
Yeah, that's true. But like I said, it does take adjustment. For people to come around to understand that the relationship is over and everybody's moving forward. Because sometimes when people are traumatized by heartbreak, um, they tend to get stuck. And then seeing somebody else come into the situation, you feel ousted. You know what I'm saying? You feel like ousted out of the family, but then it's like this person is looking like a family with your child with someone else. So, I mean, that's a lot to take in the midst of getting over, you know, someone that you loved. So I don't know. I really respect Mashonda for how she was able to even graduate to a place in her mind where she could start to what she calls blend in with them, to blend with them, because I don't know that I would have been able to be get that close. You know what I mean? My personality, I feel like once it's over, as long as you respect me and I respect you, and you do right by my child, I don't have to be friends with you, or I don't have to be close to you, because the relationship you have with my child is based on the relationship you have with their father and not with me.
Yeah, and I think every situation is different. I know too that she speaks about the dinner that her and Alicia Keys had, where they came to like that common, denominator. Nobody was, nobody knows what really how it went down. But I mean, the way she described it, it's like that they really ended up bonding and clicking in that moment, because they looked at each other as two women, not the other woman, or the woman that broke up my family. They just looked at each other as two women and realized that at the end of the day, they both wanted the same things. And I guess she was able to see her for who she was, or who she can be to her son.
You gotta respect that. I
Yeah.
mean,
And who she wants to be to her son, because really nobody owes you to want to be, step up and be a step parent to your child.
yeah.
So if you have someone that's wanting to do that genuinely out of the goodness of their heart, then with no motives, you should, respect that and embrace that, but I'm not saying, be buddy buddy and go get your manis and patties together, but at least just have an amicable relationship and some communication there so that y'all can both be on the same page. And like you said, you know, two homes, but one team, all on the same team for the child so that
Mm-hmm.
he feels like I have this person rooting me on, this person rooting me on.
Right, and
And
it's all love.
yeah, and it's all love. And they feel whole. Like they don't feel like they're having to go between parents or please one and reject the other. So
Yeah.
yeah, I
Well, I don't
think
even think you should put kids in a position to have to choose. You know what I mean? Like based off of your personal feelings for that person. You know, that other person, because sometimes parents are having conversations with their children that make their children look at their parent in a negative way. And they're not being considerate of what it's doing to that relationship, because it's like I'm mad, so I want everybody to be mad at you.
yeah.
I'm gonna be mad at you, so I want him and her and her and her to be mad at you. And so, you know, an enemy of my enemy is a friend of mine type of thing.
Yeah. But I guess like I said, people learn through what they say, people learn through example or experience. So some things people are going to be like, ooh, I saw that act out or that play out, in my mother's situation, or my sister, my family, someone in their family or friend situation. They don't want to go through that. So they may handle it differently. And then some people have to go through the ugly to get through
Yeah.
the other side. And everybody's journey is different. But I guess, when you know better, you choose to move differently. So
Hmm.
with heartbreak, there's so many different stages of healing to get back to who you were. And then when there's a child involved, it's much harder because then you have to see this person on a consistent basis when you're trying to get over the hurt. But that's when really like working on yourself, just I like she talks about being secluded. And she says silence allows reflection. And so you can't really know who you are, heal yourself if you have so much other noise going on and you still going out every weekend or trying to, you know, date and do all, like you really have
Yeah.
to like seclude yourself to really just hone in on yourself and what it is that you like about yourself, what you don't like, what you want to work on, what you want to explore, new interests, whatever it is, to be able to build yourself back up before you can present, not really present yourself to the world again, but present yourself to the new situation that this other
Hmm.
co-parent has created. Or
Hmm.
of course, if you decide to start a relationship with someone else, like you really have to totally heal yourself first, because you wouldn't want to bring those negative feelings from your last relationship into the next.
Exactly. And then another thing with Mashonda, that she did actually talk about that at first she was doing that she was going out and partying all the time and trying to just find her place after that. Because a lot of women, our identity is um, a lot of times attached to who we attach to. So you be like, oh, you know, I'm Bernica Joan. I'm Stefan's mama. You know what I mean? I'm Peyton's mama. So you can say what your title is to people. It matters to you. You know what I mean? And then when you're not that to someone anymore, um, trying to figure out who you're supposed to be now can be hard. And
Yeah.
um, so I like that she matured to a place where she didn't have to go out and party. She didn't have to do anything to try to get back at him or flex some new dude in his face trying to make him jealous. That she was just like, I have to get to a place where I'm happy with myself. That adding somebody into my situation is not even, it's not something that has to happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and I know she wrote a chapter called "Please Forgive Mashonda," which talks about her forgiving herself, and that's a big step too towards moving on. Forgiving yourself, I guess, for just making the choices that you made. Forgiving yourself for maybe dwelling in a certain stage of the heartbreak too long, maybe the
Mm-hmm.
anger part. Um, Forgive yourself just for allowing yourself to accept things that you maybe knew that you weren't supposed to accept, and
Mm-hmm.
all of that, because it's so much blame and guilt whenever there's the
And
and
shame.
so much shame when there's
Mm-hmm.
a relationship that's, and you thought that you thought it was going to end differently, or it was going to be a happy ending, and it turned out to not be. You have to forgive yourself for feeling all the ways, all the emotions that you felt, so that you can move forward whole, and take it as a lesson moving forward, not as a loss, or not as something that you should look at negatively, but look at, like, what did this teach me, or what did I gain from it, and
Mm-hmm.
move forward.
Yeah, look at the experience of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's going to be so many different things in life, that you're going to be hit with, that you're going to learn from. And, you just kind of have to take that situation as one of those bumps in the roads and learn from it and keep it moving.
Yeah. I think it just kind of shakes you at first because you kind of get lost um when you had an expectation that your life was going to look a certain way, and then it doesn't turn out that way. You know, it can be really difficult, trying to recover and trying to figure out how to go forward.
Yeah, but that's when you have to take those expectations away, because you can never control what another person's going to do.
Yeah. You just
And
can't control how life's going to go.
yeah, and that's the thing. Just that control is so many different variables to that. And that's when you just have to, just like when they say let go and let God, you really do, because
That need to control would depress you, give you anxiety,
it really will.
make you angry, bitter. Like, there's a lot that comes with that.
But it's a wonderful feeling when you're on the other side and you realize that everything, that you can't control everything, and that everything isn't um isn't for you to control.
Hmm.
Sometimes you just have to let some things be and pray and hope for the best. And I think that's, like I say, um a lot of, what she does and what she talks about is just, being just in tune with herself. And I think because of who she realized, she said she had to go back to why she fell in love with Swiss Beats in the beginning. And I think that's what helped her to move forward, to know that he was going to be a good father, and that he was going to set a more positive example, for their family moving forward.
Yeah, and then thinking about the friendship and the love that they had, the different strengths that he had as a man, um, coming into her seeing, just remembering who he was,
Yeah.
like as a person. And we talked about that the last time about um, starting to get to a point where you don't see this person as a monster because they hurt you, that you start to see them as a human being. And, not even just a human being, but now a human being who, whether y'all together or not, y'all share a very important responsibility.
True.
And so, um, how I feel is not always what's real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Because all of that is just, time will pass.
mm-hmm,
So the way you felt 6 months ago, you may not have those same feelings today.
mm-hmm,
So not saying that you have to put your feelings to the side, but you just kind of have to work on them,
mm-hmm,
on your own time,
yeah.
and take the time out, when the child with that other parent, to really heal yourself and
Well,
get to know
take
yourself.
advantage of that time
Yeah.
too.
Yeah. Fall in love, with yourself again in
Mm-hmm.
that time.
Or for the first time.
Correct.
Because some people ain't never fell in love with themselves. They've always been attached to somebody else. And then, the way they view themselves is based on how that other person feels about them. So, if he doesn't think I'm good enough, then I must not be good enough. And so some people have to just learn to love themselves for the first time.
Yeah. That's so true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Like just staying in your wholeness as an individual, and be okay with the fact that this person has moved on with someone else. And even if you don't feel it in your heart that you're ready to move on, that it's okay that you stood
Mhm.
by yourself, because at the end of the day, it's a choice. Everybody
Mhm.
can have somebody if they want to,
Right.
but making that
But you don't
conscious,
want anybody.
no, you don't. And just making that conscious decision as a mature adult that, where I am right now, maybe it's not the best time for me to start a relationship with someone else.
And when you being crushed, like sometimes there's just no desire to even get to know anybody new or
Yeah.
to try again. So you have to get past, you have to get to a point where you even want to give somebody else a chance to even get to know you. So, you know, it's hard work.
It really is. But it's the best work that you can do is building yourself up to be the person, your higher self, the person that you want to be, so that you can create this, safe place and a loving place for your child to grow up. You want them to see you as a strong person, and to see, you want your kids to see you as someone that's resilient. I know she put there was a part in the book where she said if a parent is walking around broken, that energy will manifest negatively in the child.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when I was going through um my heartbreak and all the everything that went along with that, my oldest son would be like, are you okay, mama? Because he could sense that, he could feel that
Mm-hmm.
on me, and him just being the type of kid that he is, just always aware of everything going around, everybody
Intuitive.
around him, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
He always could tell if something was wrong with me.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I can't even remember the last time he's asked me, "Are you okay, mama?" Because I haven't been in that space to where he could feel those emotions off of me.
Yeah.
And so that was part of, a reminder that I wasn't doing okay, because he could see that I wasn't doing okay. And that's why he was asking me, was I okay?
Right.
So um, that's something that needed to happen. That's something that I'm grateful that he was there, because it was like a reflection of me. I could see in
Mm-hmm.
his eyes that he knew that I wasn't okay. So I needed to get okay so that he could be confident that I was fine and that he didn't have to worry about me, because, we definitely don't ever want our kids to have to worry about our emotions. And
And just grown folks' business. You know what I
exactly,
mean?
exactly. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But it's all good. It's all a part of life and evolving and just the different um, things that we're going to have to encounter. So it's
Yeah.
only going to make us stronger individuals. And, of course, with him, make him a more intuitive person when it comes to future relationships in his life. I want him to be the type of man that asks his wife, "Are you okay? Is something wrong?" That doesn't shrug off her emotions, see that she's in a bad mood and just disregard him because of the way he feels, because of his own ego. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm thankful that I'm raising young men that are aware of
Mm-hmm.
women's emotions, because it's important. There's so many young men up out here right now that could care less, could see you crying and get up and walk right out of the room,
Mm-hmm.
and
But I feel like a lot of men who are like it, they didn't have good relationships with their mothers.
yeah.
Because most dudes who had good relationships with their mothers, they are more compassionate towards women and stuff like that.
But a lot of the times too, I feel like that is probably one of the biggest issues as to why men in relationships the way that they do, or why they take women on the emotional roller coasters that they take them on in relationships, because of the relationships that they had with their mother. If you had a close relationship with your mom, you would be more sensitive to a female's
Mm-hmm.
feelings. And I think a lot of the times that's not the case when a man can be so disrespectful, or just so um, disrespectful of your feelings,
Well,
especially when they've given you a child. You should want to nourish the relationship with the mother, or make sure that the mother of your child is good. So why would you want to be the one bringing her harm and pain?
I think it's what people get so upset about when the relationship is over too, is because it's just like, if I'm over here with your child, then you should be caring about whether or not I'm okay, whether that's financially, emotionally, spiritually, whatever. That doesn't mean you have to like be with me or try to have a relationship like a romantic relationship with me, but you should be in tune with what's going on with me because I'm raising your child. We
Exactly.
should be able to have certain conversations and discuss certain things because we share a huge responsibility together. And I think that sometimes I kind of don't understand how men can just sometimes go on with their life, find a new woman, and then disregard, the fact that they even have a child with somebody, or just be kind of like, you know, they start acting like a family friend instead of a father. You know what I mean? It's like you just come around, but every now and then and get your child and take them to get ice cream. I spend a little time with them and bring them back. Like, starting to act like a godparent or something. You know what I mean? It's not um real parenting. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? And so
like a
that
babysitter.
woman or whoever is that sole caretaker might start to feel like, you know, they getting slighted when it comes to what needs to happen happening.
Yeah, it just goes back to the control issue. You can't really control how people are gonna be, and just because somebody was a romantic relationship, a romantic partner with you, or was a provided in a financial way, or whatever the situation may be, that doesn't determine what type of father they're gonna be,
Yeah.
and that's always the biggest issue. Is
You cannot tell. I remember my little sister being pregnant, and she was like, he's a good father. I said, girl, you don't know if a man's a good father until you have his child. Like that's when you know, because that's when you see the real. Like you might see a dude at the barber shop or something with his son every week, but what if a haircut is the only thing that he even does? You know what I mean? But on the outside, he looks like he's super dad. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he's doing the most, but he might really be doing the least. You know what I'm saying? So you're right. You don't know what type of person, parent that a person's gonna be after you have a baby with them. And I mean, until after you have a baby with them, you have to deal with who they are as a parent. Um, but I think a lot of people haven't had models. Like that's even when you talking about relationships um, with men and their moms. Men and their fathers. Like a lot of men haven't been taught what they are supposed to be to a family and to their kids, so they think, oh, I do a little something here and there and that's enough. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
but that's part of really taking your role seriously as a parent. Um, I will say when I had Peyton, I was so young that I probably didn't take my. I know I didn't take my parenting role as important as I should have, because I was 18 when I had him. So it's just kind of like I was giving up my freedom. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all, like I say, growth and evolvement. But that's when you have to be whole for your kids, because you have to make sure that as a parent, whether it's a mother or father, regardless to what that other parent does, that you're instilling and giving your child everything that you could possibly give them to make them the best human being that they can be. Because what that other person does really has nothing to do with you. You can't really dictate what type of parent that person's going to be in their life. You just
Yeah.
have to hope for the best and know that you're doing all that you can to instill the best in which you can into your child.
Yeah. And I think that you definitely can't dictate it, but you can definitely be affected by it.
You
You know what
can.
I'm saying? Like if I'm the only one that's having to do certain things, it might I might have some feelings about that, about how that might be tugging on me to be in different places at different times, or having to always rearrange my schedule every time somebody's sick, or like it's just certain things that it is hard accepting that maybe that other person might be defective in some areas of parenting, and that you have to pick up the slack. And so, yeah, you can't control it, but you can definitely feel the effects of what they're not doing or how they're not contributing. And I think that's part of like probably growing too, is trying to make peace with that. And you obviously have a very good um, handle on how that is, because
I've had no choice but to. Sometimes you present with situations where you
I
have
am
no
not
choice.
there.
You have no choice but to just like wise up, get with it and keep it
I
moving.
know it.
And
I
a lot
know
of
it.
times
Because
it's
fighting it really is just exhausting
it
anyway.
is.
You know, it
And
really is.
it creates mental chaos and mental
And
clutter.
distractions,
Yeah,
yes.
it's not necessary, especially when you want to grow better as yourself. Why feed into the negativity or the chaos that's going on when you can just choose a different path that's
Hmm.
more peaceful and feels better.
Yeah. Like ideally, I think when the relationship is over, like to me, joint custody is like a given. If it's, like if it's over, just you have just as much responsibility as me and I have. It's ideal to me anyway. But it's not it's not how things usually go for most people.
Yeah.
That you would think that we would be splitting the responsibility down the middle since we both made a decision to have this child and we both have to co-parent. um you would just think that certain things would happen, like if I pick them up from daycare on Monday, you pick them up on Tuesday. um and that's the type of co-parenting relationship that I feel like I would want. You know what I mean? Not no situation where I'm having to do the most,
Yeah.
while that person gets to pick and choose when and what they'll be a part of.
Well, I think the biggest thing would be, as two parents actively taking on the roles of a parent to the child, like as two co-parents taking it seriously. Not just being, there on the weekends, every other, like really, even if you don't have your child that day, you should definitely like know what's going on with your child that day, or
Mm-hmm.
or talk to your child, ask them how their
Right.
day was after school, even if you're not picking them up that day, if that's not your day to pick them up, or that's not your day to take them to baseball practice or whatever it is. Like you should want to know. I really don't feel like as a parent you should go more.
Weeks.
Yeah, you shouldn't go
People go
weeks.
weeks and
Yeah,
months
weeks
without
without
talking
knowing,
to their
yeah,
children.
without knowing what's going on with your kids. And that's
Yeah.
really sad to me. That's when you really have to like own up and evaluate yourself, like what type of parent really am I?
Yeah.
Because that's the thing. I feel like so many people have just become so lax, men and women,
Yeah.
a lot of the time, it's more men because there are a lot of single mothers out here,
Yeah.
but there
But
are
women can
single
get caught
dads
up
too,
too. Yeah.
definitely, that get caught up and just neglect their whole responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a big issue, for the kids, because you need two parents to, you know, two mature parents, two healthy
Mm-hmm.
parents to help raise mature, I mean to raise a healthy child.
Yeah. But it's hard when you're not dealing with somebody that's mature.
No.
And yeah, that's a huge burden when you're not dealing with somebody that's mature.
And that just goes back to, you know, kind of knowing who
The limitations of the
exactly
person that you had
the
kids
limit, yeah,
by.
and
Mm-hmm.
knowing their background and where they come from, so they know what's important and what's valuable. But it's just all a part of the journey, and you live and you learn, and
Mm-hmm.
you realize that you have to do what you have to do, and you can't really worry about the other parties that are involved. Hope for the best. Hopefully there could be a great co-parenting situation. Not everybody's going to have the blend situation. I guess that's the difference between blending and co-parenting. Co-parenting is just working together as two parents to help raise this child, whereas blending is you are really like blending your lives
Mm-hmm.
together, blending children, blending relationships, your new partner, being cool with the other person's new partner. um, that is a very mature situation, and it's not for everybody. And I think she talks about that in the book. It's not for everybody, but
Yeah.
as long as both parents, the bottom line is both parents are putting the child's interests, best interest at the forefront of their decisions, then that's really all you can hope for in a co-parenting situation. And
Yeah. And I think that's probably why she was able to, successfully write a book about it, because I mean, it is a unique situation. I don't know nobody who really has that situation where it's that everybody's that cool and everybody's that cooperative, and
well, my I told you about my sister TC, which that's the thing. I call her my sister because she is my sister. You
Mhm.
know, me and my sister Erica, we have different fathers, but Natisse, we call her TC, is her sister on her dad's side. So me and TC didn't share any blood,
Mhm.
but we share a sister.
Mhm.
And because of how the situation went down with Erica being brought into the world and um all of that, it was a very, touchy situation, messed up situation, kind of the way everything went down. But when Erica was older and TC, was older and they were able to like really connect as sisters and form their relationship, she told her mother, she was like, I mean, I don't care. This is my sister and her brothers and sisters are my brothers and sisters. And they're going to be around and we're going to be a family and y'all just got to get on board with it. So, when they say out of the mouth of babes, it's so true because TC was probably like a teenager,
Mhm.
14 or something, 14, 15. And she was just like, no, this is my sister and I love her and I love everybody that comes with her and we're going to be, a family. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, we blended. Her kids are my nephews. There's no
Mhm.
half, no step, no nothing like that. Like we are family.
Mhm.
And it was a great thing because that's what brought my mother and her mother together as parents and as grandparents. Whereas these
Mhm.
women despised each other 30 years ago,
Oh yeah.
but were able to share grandchildren and share moments of baby showers and graduations together because the kids are like, we're gonna blend and y'all just got to get with the program. So
Mhm.
thankfully, it turned out to be great because you know the extension of family was fun and
Yeah,
um
those other siblings definitely will bring it together.
yeah, and that's what ended up happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
But time, like I say, time heals all wounds, and with that, you get to know people, and I think that's the same way it was for my mother and Miss Yolanda. They ended up getting to know each other on a womanly level, on a human
Right.
level,
Right.
versus what the situation was that made them not like each other in the first place. But
Yeah, because it's usually just something painful done happen. Somebody done got played, or somebody done got cheated on, or somebody, and it's just hard, and especially when a baby's born. I mean, I went through that I was 21 years old, and my son has a sister that's 17 days younger than him, so the blood was bad for a long time. You know what I mean? Until probably the kids started getting older, and we had to start being around each other and actually seeing each other for human beings and women and having the same different issues, you know what I mean? Having to connect about different things. So, you know.
But that's the thing, everybody's journey is different. So whereas, maybe one person can come to their spiritual awakening, at one point you can't expect that other co-parent just because you ready now, you
Mhm.
expect them to be ready,
Yeah.
to quit all the drama, quit all the immaturity because everybody matures and everybody grows differently. So that's
Mhm.
why you really have to be so confident in who you are and the way you're handling things to know
Mhm.
that you're really doing it for the best interest of the child, even if that other parent isn't, or
Right.
if they are still displaying some immature tendencies, you know
Mhm.
you just really can't let that phase you. You just have to really be secure in what it is that you're doing and know
Mhm.
that you're trying your hardest to make this thing work, and hopefully eventually everybody will get on board before too much time passes. But you can really just hope for the best, and
Yeah.
just always check on your child and make sure your child is good.
Mhm.
Make sure your child is good and that they're not feeling any effects from the situation that these two adults have put this
Right. And
child
even if
in.
they are, that you sitting them down and addressing it, appropriately. Because I think that parents, when they hurt, they pretty selfish. They can be pretty selfish, just thinking about how they feel and not really considering what they need to do for the kid. You know what I mean?
Yep, I know what you mean, but it's all good.
Yeah, we all been there before.
Yeah, and everybody's situation is different, so I guess the best thing to do
Now
is
you got to figure out what
know what you
works
got and
and
can
can
you
you
handle
handle
it.
it. Well, I think it's right in figuring out what's best for you because everybody situation ain't. I mean, you would think, oh, well, y'all just need to do this and do that, but some people ain't workable. They don't want to compromise. They don't want to do anything that even makes them have to step up in certain ways. So, like you said, that's when you have to let go of control.
Yeah, because a lot of times that's just a reflection on themselves and just wanting to retaliate against anything that maybe just that other person says because of their own insecurities. So you really can't take that personal. You just have to move forward, what you know is right, and like I say, continue to put the child first.
People was raised different.
That's it, and that's a whole nother topic.
Oh yeah, that show's just gonna be called "Who Raised You."
Exactly, and why? Who did it and why? No, but you know, moving forward, there's so many other aspects to this. You know, other variables, especially when it's like I say, a new co-parent, they have a partner, and then what if they have other kids,
Hmm.
and you know who they ex is, and all this being brought into it,
And the child support,
girl.
because when other kids come in, you know that person's money is getting thinner and thinner and thinner. So, how much am I? How much help am I gonna get around here?
Yeah,
You want to be over here making all these babies, right?
but that's when it also comes to you being whole in yourself, not just in the healing aspect, but in the can I afford to take care of these kids if I have to do it on my own?
Mm-hmm.
And then that's it.
I think that's why a lot of black women, like right now, I think black women might be have the highest rate of women. I mean, in our culture, in college, black women might be the top. Uh, I'm trying to get a percentage in college, and I think that is because you know who wants to be in poverty. If you have babies with somebody and they ain't doing their part, it does kind of put you in poverty. You know what I mean? Because you need more help. You need to be able to do certain things. So, I mean, I know with me, that's why I went back to school. I wanted to make sure that I could make the money that I needed without nobody's help.
Yeah.
So, um, and you have to do that, especially if your options are limited
Yeah.
or the person that you had kids by skill set is limited.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I don't make no excuses for no grown individual because there's so many ways out here to get money.
It
So
is.
I
You
don't
be
feel
like, but that's why you like, what are you doing? You able-bodied person. What is
exactly.
going
I'm
on
gonna tell you
with
right now,
you?
panhandlers make sometimes at least $100 in a day. So there's no excuse for a grown
Go
person to
out there
not
and
go out here
shake
and
your
get
little
it.
bucket.
Hey,
Put your little sign on. I gotta feed my kids. Can you
it's
help
working for
me?
some people. So
Yeah.
yeah, there's really no excuse, but
But
that's
ain't it crazy when people be like, I ain't well, I'm not about to go over here and make $7 an hour or whatever. Like, so zero is enough? It's
yeah.
good enough? Okay.
And that's definitely a whole different topic because that's
Man,
that's
the
that ego.
audacity.
That's that ego coming back into play. Like
Exactly.
you don't want to be
Pride.
yeah.
Foolish pride.
Yeah.
Because you would think you would be somewhere sitting feeling bad about yourself because you're not being able to provide for your kids. Like, I really feel like pride has been displaced. Like, people are prideful about the wrong things now.
Well,
But that's
because
a whole nother subject,
it really
too.
is. It really is. So we'll discuss that in the upcoming subject. But this episode is all about just how to navigate after the aftermath of a relationship and how to just co-parent with somebody, just deal with this other person as a human and make the best of the situation that you've dealt for yourself
And know that that's who you
and
chose.
know that that's who you chose. And really, like I say, have no expectations and just move forward out of love and move forward with the understanding heart and move forward knowing, like realizing for real, what is it do you have? Like, look at this person, look at their parents, look at, where they come from. And then maybe that'll help you better understand why they behave the way that they do, not making excuses for anybody, but
It's just reasons for everything.
exactly.
Yeah.
And that can help just ease your mind so that you don't have these expectations or that you don't get upset about the same things because you already know why things are playing out the way that they do.
Yeah.
So it's really for your own understanding when you try to get to understand or get to know someone else or get to understand the other person. But like I say, with ego, a lot of times we
Right. You
push.
ain't trying to understand. You
Exactly.
just have your expectations and you want them met.
Yeah. And you just want to say what you want to say because this is how you feel when
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily the best way to go about it because it's not benefiting any of the people involved.
Yes, thank you, Bernica. I'm gonna get myself together.
It's okay, girl. We both five. We getting ourselves together. That's why we here. But
I'm joking. I definitely understand.
yes. So we're gonna have more with this subject because it's something that so many people in the world are dealing with. So many people have blended families and have co-parenting situations, and um, it's good to know how other people navigated through their relationship. So
Right, and
that's
how
going to be
they operated.
that's definitely going to be another segment speaking to someone who has, navigated in a more positive way with her ex and have a positive co-parenting situation for their son. And so that will be coming up. So stay tuned for that interview.
Mm-hmm. And so we thank you guys for tuning in as we talked about co-parenting and getting out of your feelings and focusing on the shared responsibility.
Yeah, and creating just a balanced, positive, happy life for all the children and individuals involved. And we thank you all for your time. Please submit any questions or concerns or feedback that you have about this.
To Instagram at the Tiddy Pow Wow. And also, we have a Facebook page called The Tiddy Pow Wow. And you can reach us by email at thetittypowwow@gmail.com. So, thank you.
And we out.
It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow. It's going down. It's going down. It's going down on the Tiddy Pow Wow.